Very good afternoon to all of you present in the session. I'll be presenting my screen. Please acknowledge once you see it. Visible? Okay. So we started with a new chapter in your previous session yesterday. That is the unit number 6, file system interface, where we have started with the file concept and file types. Okay. We have also seen your directory structure. These 3 topics are already seen. Today we are going to see your access methods, okay, your allocation methods, contiguous, linked and indexed. And if there is time, we will see this free space management, directory implementation, and at the end, the efficiency and the performance. So the very first slide that we discussed regarding your file concept was the 3 problems, or you can say the need of file. So what were the need of file, or what according to you is the need of file? Why do we need file? Yes, anyone can share their views on this. What is your view, your say? Why do we need file? Don't focus on 3 problems. Just on your own, you tell me. Why do you think we need file? To store and share the data easily. Correct. Anything else?
Um,
Yes, Shanidhi.
to determine how the data is to be stored or kept.
Correct. We can determine how our data can be stored or sorted or kept. Correct. Anything else? To perform log. It's a log of which kind? Can we say to retrieve the information whenever we would like to have? Okay. Yes, both of you are correct. Vivek and Utsav. Also, you can add here that whenever you want to retrieve the information at any point of time, okay, and if that information is not on your, your temporary memory, that is your cache memory, then files come into the picture to help you out with accessing those information. Okay, so all of you that you have answered, summing up it in these 3 points. Okay, need to store and retrieve the information, first point. Fine. Multiple processes can have access to the multiple information at the same time, point number 2. Point number 3, keeping the information even after the process terminates. Okay, so that the information is not lost, but it can be retrieved anytime you want. Okay, so these are the 3 needs for why we do need a file, or you can say the 3 problems that can be addressed if we have the file structure. The next topic was regarding the definition of a file. Okay, so I'm not going to repeat all the points here. This is the whole slide is about what is file in different form. Okay, so you can just write any one definition which you can remember. It will be correct. Okay, so in this particular slide at the end it is mentioned that file do have some attributes. So what are the list of attributes? Can anyone tell me some attributes of files? Quickly, students, some attributes of files. Nobody remembers attributes? Correct. Date, created, the format, the owner, the password, the size, whether the file is to be hidden, kept hidden or not. Correct? So they are the list of some attributes. Protection, who can access, only the administrator or the user. If everybody can access, then do we need a password? Then password is an attribute. Who is the creator? Who is the owner? Flag values like it is only a readable file or a hidden file or randomly accessed file or logged file. Okay, so these are the attributes of files that come up. The types of extensions we have discussed in really good way. You guys have answered all the extensions that you know in the previous session, so not repeating this again. Then we came to file types. Do anyone remember the flowchart that was there in this file types? What are the two main file types? Anyone? Regular files and directories, something like this. Do you remember? Regular files and your directories. In regular files, again you have a partition, ASCII files and binary files. Okay, in which we have started, we did a discussion on the kinds of directories that we have. Okay, the very first is your single level directory system. What is there in the single level directory system? Anyone? Yes, Prashant, right about directory structure, but I'm asking now is what is there in the single level directory system?
It's having one directory that contains all the files.
Absolutely right, Ibrahim. It has only one directory, that means one folder, and all the rest of the files are inside it. But what was the problem? What is the disadvantage? Okay, let's take advantage first. What was the advantage here? With one directory and all the files inside that one directory. What is the advantage?
It will be maybe simplicity and the location of the file, how to locate it. It will be very easier.
Correct. Locating the file is very simple. You don't have to navigate inside a folder, something like that. The file, you just go to the root directory and it is very simple. Correct, Utsav? It is very simple to find out your target file. But there is a disadvantage here. So what is the disadvantage?
If the multiple user will access it at the same time.
No, that is not a disadvantage. It is one of the part of disadvantage. Multiple users are accessing, correct. But what is the disadvantage? Correct, Manan. You cannot give same name to the file. For example, I am creating, the example that I gave you here was of OS submission. Okay, let's say we have two students with same name called Ibrahim. Okay, in our class we have three students with same name as Ibrahim. Okay, but let's say two of you, I'm just making a single folder of OS submission, and the instructions that I give is you have to write file name as your first name, that is first name underscore submission. So if my class is having same name students, though the different students are going to submit their files differently, but name will be same. Ibrahim underscore OS submission. Ibrahim underscore OS submission. Right? So this is going to create what? A disadvantage, a problem. Because you have just one directory and you cannot, keep files with same names inside one directory. So the solution to this was your two-level directory. So what I did in that example, in the OS submission, Again, that is a folder, OS submission. Inside that folder, again I'm creating a subfolder with all the names of my students. Okay, full names. So it will be Ibrahim, Inusa, Ibrahim Gumna, something like that. Okay, but what is the difference here? The difference is your last name. Okay, though your first names are same, okay, but your last names are different. But the instruction for submitting the file remains the same. First name underscore OS submission. But because there is a dedicated folder for each of you now, and I am following a two-level directory system, so the problem of having same name file is eliminated. Correct? So that is what the two-level directory system is giving you the advantage. To avoid the conflicts caused by different users choosing the same file name for their own files, the next step up is giving each user the private directory. Okay, so that's what this diagram is depicting. Okay, that inside my root directory, I am creating more folders. The folders are dedicated to each student, and inside that now the students can enter their files. No matter two students are naming their file same, there won't be a problem. Okay. Next comes your hierarchical directory systems. Okay. So what is hierarchical directory system? Anyone? It is not multi-directory. Okay. It is hierarchical directory system. The meaning changes. Okay. So can anyone tell me what is hierarchical directory systems?
I think it's kind of creating the subdirectories inside a directory.
Correct. But following the hierarchy.
Yes.
For example, I have a folder, all the subjects assigned to me in even semester 2021. So that is one folder, even semester 2021. Inside that, I have, let's say, 3 subjects: OS, HCDA, and let's say one more subject as ML. Okay. So inside OS, again I have a material structure, or say materials of OS. Again in folders: theory about OS, lab session material about OS, let's say reference book for OS. So what is it? I'm following a hierarchy. That even semester subject, inside that all my subjects of even semester, inside those subjects all the reference, or say the files related to that subject. So I'm forming a hierarchy. Now what is the difference here in multi-directory system? You can say it is a multi-directory system also, but not every multi-directory system is a hierarchical directory. Why? Because see, for example, there is a folder of let's say my files. Okay. Now in that my file folder, you can keep your entertainment files also. You can keep your study material also. You can keep your programming material also. But they are not in hierarchy. They are just under the category of my files. Okay, so they are your multiple directory system. Here I am talking about hierarchical directory system. Okay, so just to make the conveniency of the user, okay, to a higher, take the conveniency of the user to a higher level, okay, and sorting our data, sorting our related data, we are going for hierarchical directory systems. Okay. So this is, not only going to sort your data, but it is also going to provide a very powerful structure, as it is written here, for users to organize their work. Alright. So this was your hierarchical directory systems. We had stopped here. So today we are going to start with your file structure. Okay. This is also, I guess, covered in the session. You have 3 kinds of file structure. One is byte sequence, where your information is placed in byte form, and your computer is not at all aware about what kind of data it is. Okay, it just places it inside the byte sequence. Okay, then you have record sequence where each of the record sequence is of fixed length, and you can perform two operations at a time. Like for one record, you can let's say give a write operation, then for the another record you can do a read operation. Okay, and then comes your tree structure of file where you are following a tree structure to store your data. Okay, and there is a key point which is helping you to navigate through this key structure. Okay, so this is what those write up is telling you here. Okay, now coming to your file types. Okay, mainly in your Unix system, if we just talk about your Unix system, mainly in your Unix system there are two kinds of files. Okay, the first one is your executable file, and the second one is your archived files. We'll see what is what differently. First, have a look at this figure. Figure number 8, your executable file. This particular file have a header format, okay, and then there is a data part, a header part and a data part. In the header part, the very first field that you have, okay, is a field called magic number. Now this is just a name, okay, it is nothing, no magic kind of happening here. It is just a naming convention. This number is going to tell your OS, operating system, that this particular file is an executable file. Okay, based on the number that it is having, or which is getting assigned to this file in the header. Based on that, the OS will come to know that this is your executable file. So, how you can say OS is coming to know? Through this field called magic number. Inside the header, again you have some trivial information. First one is your text size. Okay. Then what is the data size of your file? Then what is your bit sequence size? Okay. Then what are your symbol table size? Okay. And the entry point and your flags. Flags include all your read-write permissions, hidden permissions. Okay. So that is what the header is going to contain. Now, in the data part, okay, comes your original text that you have returned for that file. Okay, the data that is getting used or that is getting processed, the reallocation bits. You remember your PCB block? In that you had one field where you were keeping the information about the instructions. What are the next set of instructions? Okay, so this reallocation bits deals with that. Okay, and then comes your symbol table. Symbol table is, in a way, you can take it as of now. You can take it as an information table who is keeping an information regarding which process is, how one operation is communicating with other operation. Symbol table actually is an, you can say in their higher semester, maybe in 5th or 6th semester, you'll get one full subject of TOC, okay, or maybe COA. You do have COA, computer architecture, anything like that. Currently, you are having any subject like that. So you might have heard symbol table there in computer architecture. Or if not, then in the subject of TOC, okay, Turing machines, you will come to know what is symbol table. For now, you can understand it like it is a table which is going to keep an information regarding the operations that are happening. Okay. So this is your structure of executable file. Now coming to your archived files. Okay, in your archived files, you have different set of files, okay, which are compiled but not merged. Okay, so this is one file. This is my one archived file. Okay, this is my another archived file. Okay, this is my third archived file. Okay, so these all files are compiled, but they are not merged. And what does the header part of these archived file contain? The module name. Okay, so through which the OS is going to come to know that okay, this is one of the archived file. Okay, the person who is the owner and when he has created, so owner and date information will be there. What is the size of my archived file? Okay, and what are the protection flags that are kept for that particular file? And in this object module, okay, you have the data to be processed along with that file. So if I write all these points in theory form, then first is your executable file. Okay, what is your executable file? It contains header, text, data, reallocation bits, and symbol table. Okay, so just have a look at this: header, text, data, reallocation bits, and symbol table. Again, in the header, you have this information. Okay, starts with a magic number identifying the file as an executable file. Comes the size of various pieces of file, address at which the execution is going to start, and the flag bits. After the header, you have the text and the data of the program itself. Fine. And symbol table is used for your debugging process. So that is what you can write. If this particular question is coming in a 4-mark question, okay, that explain executable file and archived file, then you should be explaining this all features. What is what? Okay, and you should draw this diagram. Fine.
Mom, I have a question with the executable file in the
Yes, please.
previous slide.
Okay.
Yeah, here. You mentioned like here they will include the text and then the data. So I think the text is already a data, and how it put the text differently and the data differently. And this entire block, is it an example of storing one data, or it is a format that all data must be followed in order to store?
Okay. This entire block is about your one exe file. Okay, one exe file. So that includes whatever you have compiled for that particular application to run. Generally, your application comes into .exe files, right? So this particular block, answer to your one of the question, this entire block is about your one executable file. Inside that, you have some textual format of information and you have some data with respect to the textual format of information. Okay, something which you might be providing as a programmer, or you might be retrieving from the user as the data to that program. Okay, so text and data are different things. Data is the information that is to be processed once the text is getting executed. Now is it clear, Ibrahim?
Still now, like I'm confused if I'm going to like try to put the one data into this format. So example, can you try to put, let's say we have create a Microsoft Word, or we create an Java program that have the executable file, and it may be calculated maybe just 2 numbers. So how will we like store it using this format?
Okay, let me give you one example here. I don't know how many of you are aware with the C# language. Okay, but it is one of higher order programming language where you can create various softwares. Okay, now let's say I create a software for a pharmacist. Okay, now there will be one form. If you go and visit a website of any pharmacist who is doing business online, there will be one form, okay, a form where you need to either upload your prescription or either upload your normal information, okay, that what is the name and what are the medications given and who was the doctor and etc. Okay, so when I go and create this particular software, I'm going to code, right? I'm going to give some HTML text, I'm going to do some CSS work. So that, what is it? That comes under the part of text. Okay, I am coding something there. There are some lines to be executed. Okay, then comes my data part. Okay, suppose there is, let's say a database is getting attached to my software. Okay, so whenever the pharmacist is trying to see that who has placed the order, so that data, this particular data is going to get fetched from where? From my database. And obviously data won't be anywhere into my screen. Okay, it has to be placed in a very good form so that my end user, who may not be particularly a technical person, okay, should be seeing that particular data in a good way, in a good GUI. Okay, so that is what the data and the text here is about. Okay, the data gets fetched into these text. Okay, and then whatever the processing is to be done with respect to the data is done by implementing or executing these textual lines. Now am I clear? Is that,
Yeah, now it's clear.
anyone having any doubt here in executable files? Otherwise we can move forward. Anything like that? Okay, I guess we can move forward. All right, the next one is your archived files. Okay, now I have already explained it to you in the figure. That same thing is written here. It consists of collection of library procedures, or you can say modules, which are compiled but they are not linked. Okay, so they are independent. Okay, they are not linked with each other. That's what I was trying to tell you here. Okay, they are not linked here. They are compiled but they are not linked. Each one is prefaced with a header which is going to tell you that what is the module name, who created that, when it was created, what is the protection flag, is there a protection flag or not, so if it is, then what is the protection code, and what is the size of your archive file. Okay, so in the examination, again, 4-mark question about what is an archive file and what is an executable file. Then you should draw these two diagrams perfectly, so you get 1 mark each, and 1 marks for this explanation that you are writing. So 4 mark per question. Okay. Now, other than this was with respect to, let's say, your Unix system. Okay. Other than that, there are some other common categories of file types. Some of them are your regular files. Okay, that means the one that is simply containing the user information. They can be your text files. Okay, the notepad files. So it is like not so complicated. Information is there. Simple, whatever the user needs, the information that is there inside that file. So regular files. Then comes your directories. I guess I don't need to give you any explanation here. The system files, maintaining the structure of file system. Example is when you install your Linux systems, Kali Linux or Unix or Ubuntu, something like that. Then if you go to the root directory, there will be other directories also which you have not installed. They were pre-installed. Okay, so what are those? Those are your system files. Okay, which is maintaining the structure inside your OS, the structure of your system files. So those are the directories. Okay, then comes your character special files. These files are dealing with your IO devices only. The best example that you can relate here is whenever you are attaching any external device to your laptops. Let's say you attached a wired mouse or a printer. Okay, then what is the pop-up that comes if you are doing it for the first time? A pop-up will come that please wait, installing, initiated. Okay, or let's say it will say please wait, searching for drivers. So it is this kind of files. Okay, they are basically interacting, or it can say they are acting as an interface between your OS and the external device that you are attaching. Okay, so they are character special files, and they are used for your devices like your printers or your networks or routers or terminals. Okay, so these kinds of files are your character special files. And the last one comes your block special files. They are used to model your disks. For example, if you're attaching any external, memory disk to your physical system, okay, then these are your block special files which are going to determine that, okay, this is the model disk which is being attached externally, okay. So it is going to help you to interact with the OS. So these are your block special files. Fine. So these are the other types other than your executable and your archive files. Okay. I hope I'm clear with that part. Okay. Coming to the access methods. This is a new topic, okay, under file only. Now we are coming to the file accessing methods. Okay. So can anyone tell me, before I go inside the discussion, can anyone tell me how can you access your files with respect to data? Okay. It is easier to answer that. Go to the file, double click, file is open. That I also know. But I'm not asking in that way. I'm asking with respect to data. That how can you access that? Any idea, anyone? Read, write, execute. Okay. But dig a little bit further. With respect to data or the file, the data stored inside the file. Okay, I'll give you a hint here. You have to think with respect to the data, how the data is, mapped inside your memory. Data of a particular file. Suppose I have a file called TC1 students. I have written some comments regarding TC1 students or TD2 or TD1 students. Okay, so the mapping of that information inside your memory, that is the hint. So how can I access? Anyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You can able to access the data maybe directly without any need of uh, going to through another kind of directory. So maybe you can access the data directly.
Okay, but not the exact answer. I mean, like a little bit near, but not very near. Think, students. I gave you the hint. Mapping of the data inside the memory. You can apply your concept of data structure.
Can we say indexing?
No. That is file allocation. Indexing comes under file allocation. Sequential and random. Heard about it?
Yeah, sequential.
So these are the two methods of how you can access the information from the file. Access methods. Sequential access. Okay. Your process is going to read your data bytes by bytes in order, starting from the beginning, going towards the end without skipping anything in between. Okay, so they are very convenient when your storage medium is your magnetic tapes. Okay, not your disk files. Right now we have our disk. Okay, we have a disk structure. But when the case was of magnetic tapes, the data inside the file or data about the file, okay, was kept in a sequential manner so that they can be accessed sequentially by just starting from the beginning and going towards the end, and nothing was skipped in between. So that is one of the access methods inside the file. Okay, sequential access. Then when magnetic disk came into the picture, with that came into the picture the random access. Now because see, the disk is giving you and like a free will, that okay, you can store here also, you can store here also, you can store at address 1000, you can store at address 2000 with the help of your linked list structure. That's why I told you that you follow the concept of data structure here. Okay, access records by key, right? So if you remember in your linked list, okay, you were accessing your structure through you can say via pointers, left pointers and right pointers. Okay, or let's say if I talk about a simple linked list structure, okay, then you had your nodes, okay, where there was a data part and a pointer part. That pointer part was pointing to some another node. Okay, again it had your data part and the pointer part. Again that node was pointing to the third node. Again it was having a data part and the pointer part. And suppose this node was the last one, then the pointer part in that last one was denoted by a null value, right? So this was possible in your magnetic disk. Okay, this particular node can be at address value 10, this can be at address value 20, okay, and this can be at address value 12. But that was not an issue here. Why? Because we had pointers who was pointing to the next node, so access was random. Alright, so when this came into use for storing the files, it became possible to read the bytes and records of a file out of order. See, they are not in order. One is at 10, another is at 20, other one is at 12. They are not in order, so sequence is not there. Okay, so for example, the database system. If we are talking about an airline customer, okay, who wants to reserve a ticket for himself, okay, it will going to go and access only that record out of the file which he wants, the flight which he wants to travel. Okay, he's not going to go like from starting morning to evening, how many flights are there, like morning first flight, second flight, third flight, fourth flight. No, he wants to go with the fifth flight, so directly he can access the information of that fifth flight. Okay, so random access. So this is the example. Am I clear with the access methods? Because with this the topic gets over here regarding the access methods. You have two access methods, sequential access and random access. Both of them clear? Rest of the students, only two students are clearing.
Clear, mom. Clear, mom.
Okay. Coming to the allocation methods of files. Okay, now we have seen our file types. We saw how those file types are, getting handled by your OS. We have also seen so far that how the data of that file is getting accessed. But now we are going to discuss how actually that file is getting mapped inside your external memory or your internal disks. Okay, so it happens with the help of three methods: contiguous, linked, and indexed. Okay, discussion of the contiguous allocation of the method. Can you tell me what do you understand by the word contiguous? Meaning of the word contiguous?
Yes, ma'am.
બોલો શ્યામ.
મેમ ડેટાને એક સાથે જ એલોકેટ કરવાનું, એવું નહીં કે અમુક ડેટા આ પ્લેસ ઉપર ને અમુક ડેટા બીજી પ્લેસ ઉપર.
So you can see that it will the allocation or you can say storing of the file will be in a continuous manner.
Yeah, ma'am. In continuous manner.
Okay. As he has already answered, it is correct. It is a simplest allocation. it is the simplest allocation scheme, okay, to store each file as a continuous run of disk. Okay, so that means let's say my disk is of one disk block, okay, is of 1 KB each, okay, and I have a 50 KB file. So I'll get consecutive 50 blocks allocated for storing that file. Suppose the size I increase for each block, the size I increase to 2 KB. Okay, then again 25 consecutive blocks will be allocated to that particular file inside my memory disk to store that. So but this same thing is depicted in this diagram. If you see block file A, it is assigned 4 blocks, okay, in continuous manner. Okay, so suppose from 1, then 2, 3, and 4. Till 4 it is assigned. After 4, the 5th block is assigned to B with 3 continuous blocks, so it is still 7. Okay, then after file C, after which you have file D, file E, F, and G, and so on. Okay, so the file storing method or the allocation of file inside your memory is in the continuous form. Now, what is the advantage here? The advantage is you just need to keep the starting block address and the total size of file. Okay, rest you don't need any information to read the file. So, for example, if I have the information that my file B starting block is 5 and size is 3, so that means I automatically come to know that my file B will be in the memory block of 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Other than that, file B won't be found. Okay, so that is the advantage here. The advantage is it is simple to implement because in order to keep the track, okay, you need to remember only 2 things. First is address of first block, okay, and number of blocks in the file. Okay, just 2 things you remember and you are sorted. Then comes the second advantage, the performance. The reading performance is very high because the entire file is stored in a continuous manner. So you don't have to jump from one memory location to another. Okay. So the time to that jump from one memory location to another is saved, and that's why the reading performance increases. Am I clear here? The 2 advantages. Yes, students?
For the second advantage, suppose we want to access in one data which is maybe at the middle or maybe at the end. So the data they are in the sequential manner. So I think it will take a time to go and find the data that we
No,
want.
but
So for that, we will create.
here, Ibrahim, we are not talking about now data. We are now talking about the entire file. We are not now concerned with what is the data that file is holding. So, for example, like I have a file where I have done some, let's say, an Excel file, okay, where I have done some multiplication, addition, division, some data is there. So I am not here in this particular topic. I am not concerned with the data. I am concerned with that file, that how that file is stored. Okay. Am I
Only,
clear?
yeah, so only the file, not the data inside the file.
Yes, because this topic is dealing with allocation of file, not of data. Anybody else having any doubt? Yes, no, anything? Okay. We are keeping our session till here for today. Okay, I'm wrapping up the session here. In the next session, tomorrow, we are going to see see the disadvantage of this contiguous allocation method. We have seen the advantage. Now we are going to see what is the disadvantage. We will see the remaining two methods of file allocation, that is a linked. Okay. And inside again in linked there is one more subtopic that we are going to discuss, and then we are going to discuss your indexed file allocation method. Okay. Am I clear now? For this session it was clear. Any doubts in the entire session, anyone? Okay. So we are keeping our session till here. Thank you all for attending the session. TD2 students, please be patient. TD1 students, numbers in the chat. Okay, TD1 students, kindly wait now. TD2 students, numbers in the chat. Okay, and anyone who is remaining, you can write your number.